those first 20 songs we had, that's all we had, and we gave it our all back then. And we were new, young in the business, and we're partying hard and just wanted to go and do what we thought you're supposed to do. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Let's go.
Chuck, this is the calm before the storm, and the storm is going to last quite a while. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, just getting back from our European run here last week and preparing for the North American Canadian run here coming up next week, or a few weeks from now, actually.
Yeah. And it's just not going to stop, because after that you've got more European stuff coming. We'll get to that in just a second. But yeah. Let's dive straight into this really cool tour package. So you're first going to start North America. You'll stop here in Toronto as well, if I remember correctly, October 3rd, in a beautiful new venue in the city, together with Kreator and Possessed. Clash of the Titans, which when I saw that, it just hit me so much in the nostalgia feels, because I just had to think back straight away to the Thrash of the Titans festival in 2001, a very special festival, especially for you.
Yes.
Which not only benefited yourself, but now that we can look back 20 plus years later, it single-handedly brought back this golden age of new thrash, like all these classic bands that, unlike Testament, had paused it for a long time, came back. How do you look back on those times? Because that was an emotional roller coaster for you, I can only imagine.
Well, I look back at it now just thinking it's really a blessing, because at that time when I was ill, you never know the outcome.
Right.
I went through a lot of traditional native healing, and also chemotherapy and things like that, and surgeries to remove the tumor. But at that time, when I would look into the mirror, I didn't see the same person. I lost all my hair, eyebrows, everything. And I didn't believe that I was going to be playing music anymore. I thought, this is it. I'm it's over. I just now need to focus on family and getting better. And once I crossed that threshold and getting an operation and seeing the other side, I didn't think about music, because during my illness for 2 years, I didn't play music, talk Testament, think Testament. And until one day I played a couple Testament songs, and they felt like they were brand new again, real fresh, like I've heard them for the first time. And it kind of got me excited. And that's when I kind of said, let me reach out and see, what we want to do here. And around that time, I got a call from a friend of ours in Holland who did the Dynamo Festival in '87. And he had told me, hey, I got the original Anthrax guys back together to do a special show. What do you think about getting Testament? So I said, I love the idea. Anthrax was one of the first bands to take us to Europe. So I called the guys up, and everybody was really into doing it, even Alex and Greg and Louie with the original lineup. So it all just started with that. Like, let's just go there, maybe play a show, which turned into like 5 shows. And then it turned into a little tour. Then years later, we were like, wow, where'd the years go by? And then we decided, we didn't talk about it or discuss what the future was at that time, but let's make a record. And so, of course, Louis dropped out and Greg, but we decided with Alex, it's time to make a record with him. And, looking back again, it's like a blessing. To me, that was kind of like the rebirth of Testament at that time, especially musically, and having a chance again to jam with those guys. And it changed our mindset as far as what we deliver to the public, because you're always worried about what the public and the media are going to think and critique your music and record. But at that time, we were really writing for ourselves. We didn't really care if anybody disliked it or had anything to say about it. We just did it because it felt good, it felt right, and we had fun doing it. So I look back going, man, that's the rebirth right then.
that feeling of rebirth for the band, is that the main reason that we get this? I mean, and second wind doesn't do it justice, but the post 2000 era, if we just call it that, and that's already now 25 years almost. There's nostalgia in metal, especially in thrash metal, and people obviously love your early work, and you're going to focus on that on this tour. But if you look at streaming numbers, if you look at just the fans, what they want to hear, you're not one of those bands where people only every time want to just hear the first few albums. People love what you've put out in the 2000s, and critical response has been great as well. The same for Kreator that you're going on the road with, who arguably are at the height of their popularity, even though they also have their 80s classics that people revere. But what do you think was that the main reason? Is there other reasons for having this new golden wave for the band? Because many bands that played on that Thrash of the Titans festival and that kind of came back out of retirement, maybe let's call it, a lot of those bands, people still want to hear those first two albums. With you guys, not necessarily the case.
Well, I think we gained a new fan base of I guess maybe new younger bands that were, and younger fans that were around that time popping up. And I think with the Gathering record, we really started creatively experimenting, bringing more black metal drumming, blast beats into the music, using a little more of my voice with a little more death metal screaming, mid-tones, just doing a little more creatively. And it actually grabbed the attention of new fans, but also made the old fans and even bands in our era go, wow, that was like what happened to Testament, that's a New Testament. And we've always tried to top ourselves as far as making records and writing songs. And you're always chasing a better mix, a better production, and we've always never wanted to get stuck in trying to do the same old. We didn't want to do that. That's an easy way out. So we always push ourselves. Even the last record and the last couple records, I found voices and tones that I haven't used before that I'm still finding myself using. Even on this current record, there's some new modern influence of some younger bands right now that are making names for themselves and creating a newer, younger fan base where I'm inspired by what they're doing. I'm not trying to mimic it, but I'm inspired by it. So there's elements of that in our new material we're writing. So I think it's good to be constantly evolving and growing and challenging yourself.
Now you are going on these, let's call them celebration tours, where you are really focusing on those first two records that have been also reissued now. Does that mean that, because if you, especially when you're also in the process of making this new album and you say that, well, it's a little bit more relevant, it's current, does that mean that you look at those old songs in a different way? Like, do you dare reimagine those to some extent, or do you want to stay as respectful and true to the original?
Well, you can't change history, and you can't change the way those songs were recorded. We totally tune different now than we did back when we made those records. We tuned down to D, which is a little easier for me to sing, and I think we're way better performers now than we were back then. So when we play those songs, it really does put our mindset back then, because, those first 20 songs we had, that's all we had, and we gave it our all back then. And we were new, young in the business, and we're partying hard and just wanted to go and do what we thought you're supposed to do. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, let's go, and so now that we're performing them, it's 100% focusing on the performance and how we play them. And I think we're playing the songs better now than we did back then. But, the main reason why we are celebrating those, because after 35 years, every band gets the opportunity to reclaim their music.
Right.
So we took back ownership of the Legacy and the New Order, and we took those to Nuclear Blast to put back out there because Atlantic Records wasn't doing anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they did a great job reissuing the vinyl with a cool 20-page booklet in there. And we're like, what can we do to just promote it instead of just throwing it out there? Why don't we go play it?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, people get the message. Fans that didn't get to see us 38 years ago, that are just way too young, they've read about the history and they know the stories, but now they get to experience it firsthand and see us perform those songs live and what they mean. And we feel like we're performing them better than we did back then. We're more focused, and the songs are just tight, and those ones don't take much effort for us to we got to really rehearse the hell out of these. They come naturally, so I think the fans on this tour, they're going to get experience, especially the newer, younger generation of them, are going to experience what it was like back in mid 80s when we got to go play these songs.
It's not that you guys have had before these tours completely closed the door on those albums. Like, you've regularly played songs of those albums, but is there a song that hadn't been played a lot that is gonna be brought back that you're extra excited about, or maybe even we're a little afraid about to learn it again?
Well, not afraid, but I know a song like, for example, Apocalyptic City. That was one that during the show, I have to put that way close at the beginning of the set. It's a tough song. When we wrote it, it's a lot of lyrics and no breath, time to take a breath. So you got to have a lot of wind. So I usually try to move that up closer to the beginning of the show. We were going to play them just like they were on the record, but we decided that it's better if we just mix it up and make it feel and flow better. So we just did that through Europe, and it worked really well. And of course, there's songs like Into the Pit and Over the Wall that's always been in our set.
Of course.
Always, for all these years. And they still go over great. They still stand the test of time. But songs like Do or Die or Day of Reckoning or even Trial by Fire, songs like that, they're just so fun to play, and when I listen to the records, they feel so fast. But now when we're playing them, it's not, it's like, it just flows really good. So, I think everybody's going to really enjoy the set.
So first, you got a month and a half through North America with Kreator and Possessed, our special guests. And then the fun continues in Europe with another month and a half where not Possessed, but Anthrax is on the bill. So these are two fantastic packages back to back. By the time the end of the year comes, you're going to be extremely tired.
I hope so.
Yeah. But so, we've got these great tours to look forward to. But obviously, we've seen now the reissues. We've seen live albums being put out, whether they're newer live albums or newer recordings or old recordings, talking about Dynamo earlier, a few years ago. Mm-hmm. We know you guys are working also on the new album. So, we've had all the fun. When do we get to learn more about what's coming our way from net new material?
Well, I'm pretty excited about it because we tried to get all the recording done before we went to Europe. All the drums are done, 8 vocal tracks are done, and Alex will start recording his solos, and he'll be working on this tour. And then between the tour, this tour, and the next tour, we'll go back in the studio, maybe do the background vocals, anything we want to change. And I think the great thing about this time is we've always made records and it's been done and had to live with it. Where this time, just because Andy Sneap's not available to mix this record, the producer we chose to do it isn't available till the beginning of the year. So we really get to take our time, live with the songs, go back, change anything, and make them better if that's possible. But bringing in Chris Dovis for this record, the drummer, he's 26 years old. He's been with us 2 years. He was 24 when he came in. He's a modern drummer. He listens to a lot of the newer bands coming up. His style's fresh. And he really drove Eric to write some really, I want to say, current, fresh material. And I'm going to say, by that some of the newer bands that are out there making names for themselves, the newer, younger bands, we're not trying to mimic, but we're influenced by what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so it made this new record kind of take full circle from what we were doing to what's going on, what we went through to where we are today. And so a lot of the songs, and again, vocally, I'm doing a bunch of different new things that are challenging to me. And I won't say it's a ballad. It's a slower song, and we haven't put one of those on a record in a long time, but we're pretty confident of the song, and it's really great. And we're probably going to have Floor Jansen from Nightwish sing on it with me, and maybe put some strings and some nice, beautiful acoustic guitar. But it's a really good, strong song. And we're just doing some more different things, and it sounds really current, real fresh. There's some real heavy, brutal stuff. We're just excited because I think maybe when fans or even new fans hear it and they don't know who Testament is, they might listen and go, "Who is this?" And then maybe look and go, "Wow, these guys don't sound like a band that's been around 38 years." And I want that response because it's got a little bit of everything, and I like the fact that we could still grow and be challenged by where the climate is in music today.
So is that mentality of letting what's in the scene right now influence you, and letting a baby-aged new member challenge you guys and push you, is that a mentality that you learned over time, or is that something you always had? Because it's not necessarily easy for the average creator and artist to let others in that way and influence you. Is that something you've always had, or is that something that you learned over time?
Well, we've always had a sense of being Testament, because Eric doesn't venture out and try to listen to new bands. He sticks in to the classics that he likes, and also likes a lot of black metal. So he kind of listens to his niche of music, but he doesn't listen to something like Sirius Radio. That's where we all find what's new and modern and coming out now. He doesn't listen to any of that. So he's not influenced by that, but Chris, being with Chris and spending so much time with him, Chris has turned him on to some newer bands, and Eric's like, "Whoa, wow, that's brutal." And so I know his gears are turning when he's creating songs with Chris. And I know that since Eric didn't follow the leader all the time, he's always had his own style of writing, and it's staying true to Testament.
Right.
But this new record, it's still staying true to Testament, but it is influenced by what's going on, which I'm kind of excited, because he's always kept it in the same vein, but always trying to improve what Testament's doing. Where this one, it's pushing me vocally, pushing Alex solo wise. Everybody's getting pushed to the limits of trying something different and new and fresh, and not making the same old record. We don't ever want to do that. We want to make something that we enjoy, and we feel that we're confident to put this out there to the public, and I think they're going to react to it. Eric's always been the guy that had to kind of tell the drummer, play this beat, play that beat, try this. Where I think with Chris was just ready to go. Chris was ahead of him, doing stuff where Eric's like, "Whoa, what was that?" "Oh, wow, right. I like that." And just getting to be Eric and just play guitar, which has been
that must
great.
Be liberating.
Well, it's been so good that now that we wrote the songs for this record, January, February, March, Eric and Chris are getting back together to work on the next record already, because they had such a great time, and it just clicked. And we're like, there's no way, we don't have time to sit around and wait anymore. Let's just keep carrying on. Stop. Don't waste time and stretch this out for 2, 3 years, 4 years. Let's write another record, put this out, and be ready to go, get ahead of the curve.
Yeah. I could ask you a million more questions because I mean, obviously, been following the band for a long, long time. Actually, I was born in Belgium and I moved over to Canada in 2012, and the first show that I saw when I moved to Canada, and which will almost be to the date 12 years apart from when you play again in Canada now, was you guys were on the road with Death Angel and Anthrax, and you played Danforth Music Hall in Toronto in October 2012. And I remember just on that show how insanely hot any indoor show of Testament always becomes. Because I think the last time I saw you play here was open air Budweiser stage in the big amphitheater there. But we look forward to having you back here. I think you guys play History, which is a fantastic, beautiful new venue. We can't wait to see you. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I can't wait for the show in October. And I'm excited for all the old and new fans to rediscover some of these classic songs.
Yeah, and I'm excited and look forward for you to hear the new material, because we're all excited for it.
We'll have to catch up with you early next year when you're allowed to talk in more detail about all of that stuff. Chuck, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it, and I will see you in a few weeks.
Okay, Jasper, have a good one.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.